Near the meeting rooms, you'll find two paintings by Brian Isobe. The first is an abstract linear composition on a dark background. It looks something like a waterfall.
Misogi is the title of not just one but a body of work that I did about 3 years ago. They refer to the Shinto ritual of purification, cleansing, and one of the rituals is standing under a freezing waterfall, the Shinto version of penance. The ritual is typically done in freezing, very extreme situations. And it also references my interest in traditional ikat fabrics in Japan. Even though I'm fourth generation removed, I've sort of searched out these things that tie me to my culture. In this case, the paintings are done on a very fine portrait linen, the thread count being about twice as much as the typical artist linen. Very smooth surface. I start by making these little drops of water in a pretty methodical fashion and keep on building up a glaze over it with a transparent glaze. And this is done primarily with acrylics initially. The final glaze is actually oil, and that really gives a nice luminous depth to it.
Nearby, you'll find a second painting called Bodoni. It's a colorful picture that suggests a landscape reflected on water.
There is a reproduction of this temple in Hawaii. But the original one, which is where the original source photographs came from, is in Kyoto. And it's one of the most important buildings in Japan. It's not quite 1,000 years old, but close to it. And I have this lifelong obsession with trying to paint water. And this particular incarnation of these images, there were about half a dozen attempts to do it in various mediums. And it wasn't until I completely re-embraced oil paint that I was successful at making this painting. I tried it in watercolor and I tried it in acrylic and various other mediums and just couldn't nail it. And that went on for years. Never anything to do with the idea. It was just one of these technical things. And finally, when oil paint came back into my life, I was able to make this painting. The color is just really strong and bright. You know, what I try not to do is I try not to make really fussy paintings. You know, you could suddenly see your artist's hand in it.
We visited Brian in his studio in San Francisco and asked him what it's like to see his work once it's installed in a public location.
It's a bit humbling. I can't say I make art because it's like the ego gratification. I'm always a little bit surprised, but I am glad that typically when I see something in public, the work holds up. When you look at a painting, it's like listening to live music. It's a visual experience that can't be replicated in any other medium. The intangible experience of looking at something is what I try to replicate when I make a painting. So I'm sort of like looking for those moments.